Today, and for the next several weeks, we are going to be switching from the Gospel according to Mark to John's Gospel. Now, a few things. Mark likes to get to the point. His Gospel is sort of the executive summary of the New Testament. John, on the other hand, is a storyteller. He includes a lot of detail and atmosphere. He has a thesis that Jesus is the Word made flesh, and he wants to prove his thesis to his audience. John is also very different from Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the three synoptic gospels. Matthew and Luke are usually dated to a couple decades after Mark, and it is generally accepted that both had read Mark and had a copy available as they were composing their own gospels. Basically, they both felt that it needed a rewrite because it left out important details, stories, and information that they thought should be included. But they kept the basic outline of a 3-year ministry of Jesus leading to Jerusalem, the Last Supper, the crucifixion, and the resurrection. John, meanwhile, was a completely independent work. In John's gospel, Jesus' ministry is not 3 years long, but only 1. And over that 1 year, Jesus travels back and forth routinely between Galilee and Jerusalem to celebrate the feast days. And in John's gospel, the Last Supper is all about feet washing, not the institution of the Eucharist. So while the story we read today of the feeding of the 5,000 is in all 4 of the canonical gospels, Matthew actually doubles down on it and has versions on both the Gentile and Jewish side of the Sea of Galilee. In John, this story takes on particular significance as a story of what the Eucharist means. In John, the closest thing there is to the institution of the Eucharist is this story, a story in which a few barley loaves and fish, food enough for a young boy, become the food for a multitude when they are blessed by Jesus. All are fed, regardless of who they are and where they come from. None go hungry. All are satisfied, and in the end, there is still an abundance left over to be shared with still others who were not able to be at this gathering. In seeing this miracle before their eyes, the crowd attempts to co-opt Jesus, to make him part of their human understanding by crowning him king. But human kingship is not what Jesus wants. Jesus was not about the accumulation of power or wealth, but about healing and justice. And when we read the first reading, the profound difference between God's ways as embodied in Jesus and human ways becomes all the more clear. In the first reading, King David, having risen to the height of being king of Judah and Israel, having conquered Jerusalem and claimed it as his own and making it the capital city of his new kingdom, having had all his rivals assassinated, and having consolidated his power further by bringing the Ark of the Covenant into his city to force people of all of the territory to come to his city to do homage to God and to himself, has everything he could dream of and more. He has wealth. He has power. He has a harem of women and abundance of children, including several sons. He has everything in human terms. And having everything, David is no longer willing to put his life on the line for his people. A king's place in that time during battle was on the front lines. And yet, David is not even in the field as he sends his troops out to fight in his name. Instead, he is luxuriating back at the palace, drinking and feasting all night and then sleeping till well into the afternoon. He then sees one of the few things that he cannot have, Bathsheba, the wife of one of his greatest warriors, Uriah, and the daughter of another great warrior. And he commands her to come to the palace where he impregnates her. He then tries to cover up his sin by ordering her husband home and trying to coax Uriah into sleeping with Bathsheba. But Uriah is too good a man, too loyal to his men, and will not allow himself this luxury while they are roughing it, fighting and dying on the front. And so David sends Uriah back to the front with sealed orders for his general to have him killed in battle. Jesus in God, when confronted with the possibility of earthly power and material wealth, rejects the very notion and instead uses his power to bring healing and comfort. David, as a very human person, when confronted with the possibility of earthly power and material wealth, embraces it and uses these gains to bring pain and death. And so we are given a choice to follow the wisdom of God and share whatever we have to build up others, or to follow the wisdom of humanity and hoard whatever we have to tear down others. It is our choice. Which will you choose? Amen.